I've played city builder games from the last 5 years, and this is my ranking of them. Each one is placed from masterpiece to trash, based on how deep the systems are and how fun the building feels. Let's get into the list. Manor Lords is a medieval city builder where I started with a small group of settlers and turned their camp into a growing town through planning, production, and trade. I laid out roads, placed homes, assigned families to jobs, and balanced food, firewood, clothing, and other daily needs. Families worked together, so hunters, farmers, and craftsmen felt connected to the settlement. I watched workers gather resources, move goods to market, and slowly raise new buildings piece by piece. The freeform road system let me shape natural villages instead of following strict grids, which made every region look different. Combat was present, but most of my time went into management and expansion. Detailed animations, historical authenticity, visuals, and activity kept things interesting. Watching oxen haul logs and villagers build structures made progress satisfying. This lands in the excellent tier. Cities Skylines II. Let me build a modern city from a small starting area into a huge urban region by managing roads, zoning, utilities, transport, and public services. I placed residential, commercial, and industrial districts, expanded power and water networks, and watched thousands of citizens move through the city each day. One feature I spent a lot of time with was following individual people as they traveled to work, visited shops, relaxed in parks, and reacted to conditions around them. Detailed data screens helped me track traffic, pollution, education, internet coverage, and city happiness. Natural disasters could destroy years of progress, so planning emergency services mattered. The scale was impressive, but performance problems, slowdowns, and technical issues sometimes got in the way. Even with those problems, building and managing the city remained enjoyable. I'm placing this in the good tier. Timberborn had me guiding a colony of intelligent beavers across a post-apocalyptic landscape, turning a small settlement into a network of farms, workshops, power stations, and busy districts. Water management shaped almost every decision I made, so I built dams, reservoirs, canals, and flood controls to survive long droughts and keep crops growing. As the population expanded, I balanced food, housing, lumber, power, and production chains while opening new areas across the map. Different factions changed how I approached growth, with one relying on natural population increases and another using breeding pods and stronger industry. Fast travel systems helped connect distant settlements, making resources easier to move between districts. Bad tides added extra pressure by poisoning land and threatening harvests if I was not prepared. This easily claims an excellent tier spot. Farthest Frontier had me leading a group of settlers as they built a new home in a harsh medieval setting where survival depended on planning ahead. I assigned jobs, expanded housing, gathered resources, and worked to keep everyone fed through changing seasons. Food management became a constant priority since winter. Crop failures and spoilage could quickly create problems. I designed farmland, planned crop rotations, built smokehouses and storehouses, and tried to protect supplies from rats and waste. As the settlement grew, I unlocked new technologies, improved production chains, and added services that helped citizens stay healthy and productive. Bandit attacks, disease, fires, and harsh weather created new challenges that required defenses and preparation. Watching villagers respond to emergencies and seeing the town evolve through the seasons made progression satisfying. This comfortably settles into the great tier. Foundation put me in charge of a growing medieval settlement where I shaped neighborhoods, expanded trade, and balanced the needs of an increasingly demanding population. Instead of drawing roads, I watched paths appear naturally as villagers traveled between homes, workplaces, and markets. I developed production chains, managed taxes, opened trade routes, and worked to keep resources flowing across the settlement. Building design played a major role because castles, churches, taverns, and other structures could be expanded with functional modules that improved efficiency and unlocked new progression options. As residents advanced into higher social classes, they expected better housing, services, security, food, and entertainment, making growth harder to sustain. I enjoyed creating organic-looking towns and experimenting with different layouts while maintaining a healthy economy. Its unique building systems and relaxed style secure a spot in the Great Tier. Workers and Resources Soviet Republic had me designing an entire socialist republic where citizens, industries, and transport systems depended on each other to function efficiently. I planned residential districts, supplied essential services, and connected workers to jobs through buses, trains, and other transportation networks. Production chains were highly detailed, requiring raw materials to pass through multiple facilities before becoming finished products ready for export. I managed farms, mines, refineries, factories, power infrastructure, heating networks, and distribution centers while making sure every part of the economy stayed connected. Expansion demanded careful planning because inefficient layouts could create shortages and disrupt production across the Republic. Education and research unlocked new opportunities while growing industries increased the need for workers and resources. Watching complex supply chains finally operate without issues felt incredibly rewarding after hours of preparation. This belongs firmly in the masterpiece tier. Pioneers of Pagonia put me in charge of building a settlement on a fantasy island where growth depended on gathering resources, expanding production, and exploring new land. I started by placing basic buildings, creating paths, and setting up supply chains that kept materials moving between different workplaces. Every building was available from the start, so I could expand freely without waiting for research systems or technology unlocks. Exploring the map revealed new resources, useful locations, and hostile enemies hiding in the fog. To protect the settlement, I trained military units and assigned patrols to defend important areas from bandits and other threats. Procedurally generated maps kept each playthrough different, encouraging new layouts and strategies. Watching workers transport goods and keep production running made the settlement feel active and alive throughout the game. This finds its place in the good tier. SteamWorld Build started with a small robot settlement in the desert, where I had to balance surface expansion with a growing mining operation underground. Housing, services, and resource production all needed steady attention as the population increased and new requirements appeared. Upgrading residents unlocked better technology, which allowed me to reach deeper mine levels and gather valuable materials. The underground sections introduced hostile creatures, so protecting workers became important while keeping production moving. Resources collected below supported construction and upgrades above, creating a strong connection between both layers of the game. I spent a lot of time improving efficiency, expanding infrastructure, and meeting the needs of different resident groups to keep progress moving forward. The combination of settlement management, mining, and progression systems kept me engaged throughout. Its unique design and satisfying gameplay loop place it in the excellent tier. Highrise City placed me in charge of a growing modern settlement, where expansion depended as much on industry and supply networks as traditional city planning. I started with limited space and gradually unlocked new land while developing utilities, housing, factories, and commercial areas. Production chains played a major role because raw materials had to be collected, processed, and delivered before many parts of the city could continue growing. I spent time managing factories, organizing transportation routes, and making sure businesses received the resources they required. Different residential groups supplied different types of workers, which meant population growth needed careful planning alongside economic development. Building a successful city required attention to both infrastructure and production efficiency. Although some systems felt more complex than necessary, I still enjoyed watching the city expand and become self-sufficient. This finds its place within the good tier. Settlement survival challenged me to turn a struggling medieval village into a thriving community by carefully managing workers, resources, and long-term development. Every season created new priorities, so I constantly balanced food production, housing, healthcare, and supply chains while preparing for future demands. A timeline system became one of the most useful tools because it warned me about incoming merchants, immigrants, disasters, and other important events well before they happened. That extra planning time helped me build stockpiles and avoid major setbacks. As the population expanded, I unlocked technologies, added new industries, improved trade, and developed increasingly complex production networks. Labor shortages could quickly slow growth, making population management just as important as resource management. I enjoyed how each decision affected future progress and required careful preparation. Its deep economic systems and rewarding progression place it in the Great Tier. Synergy revolved around turning a fragile outpost into a thriving settlement while learning how an unfamiliar alien environment actually worked. I managed food, water, housing, and production while preparing for dangerous hot seasons that could dry up lakes and threaten vital resources. Learning how different plants behaved became a major part of progression, since each species had unique properties, requirements, and crafting uses. I researched new technologies, unlocked buildings, and expanded production chains while improving the settlement's efficiency. Expeditions into nearby regions uncovered valuable resources, trade opportunities, useful discoveries, and new plant species that supported further growth. Irrigation systems, soil management, and environmental planning all played important roles in keeping crops healthy and production running smoothly. The mix of survival mechanics, exploration, and settlement development kept me engaged throughout. This secures a strong position in the Great Tier. Endzone 2 had me rebuilding society in a devastated world where survival depended on keeping multiple settlements supplied and functioning at the same time. I managed food, water, housing, jobs, and resource production while making sure every community had enough workers to handle important tasks. As populations increased, new settlements appeared, forcing me to balance growth across several locations instead of focusing on a single city. A bus system became essential because it allowed me to move supplies between settlements, support struggling communities, and launch expeditions into abandoned regions. Exploration played a bigger role this time, with expeditions letting me search ruins, collect valuable resources, and overcome small environmental obstacles. Managing several settlements created additional pressure as demands continued to grow and resources became harder to balance. While not every new idea fully landed for me, it still earns a place in the good tier. Against the Storm put me in charge of building settlements in a dangerous fantasy wilderness, where adapting to unpredictable conditions was the key to success. Every run gave me different resources, citizen groups, and building choices, forcing me to change my approach instead of relying on the same strategy. I gathered food, processed materials, expanded production, and worked to keep several races satisfied while managing the growing hostility of the surrounding forest. Opening new clearings often became a gamble because they could contain valuable resources, rare opportunities, or dangerous events that required difficult decisions. Randomized blueprints made every settlement feel different, encouraging creative solutions when important buildings were unavailable. Outside individual settlements, I expanded across a larger world map and unlocked permanent upgrades that strengthened future runs. It deserves a place in the Masterpiece tier. Frostpunk 2 shifted the focus from simply surviving the cold to governing an increasingly divided society. I managed housing, food supplies, fuel reserves, industry, and logistics, while trying to keep the city functioning through brutal storms and resource shortages. The city expanded through large districts that could be upgraded and specialized, creating a constant challenge of balancing growth with efficiency. Beyond the main settlement, I established outposts and colonies across the frozen wasteland to secure resources needed for long-term survival. Politics became just as important as economics because laws, research projects, and major policies required support from factions with competing beliefs and priorities. Nearly every decision improved conditions for one group while creating problems for another, forcing me to carefully manage trust and social tension. Its ambitious scale and deeper political systems earned it a place in the excellent tier. The Wandering Village placed a settlement on the back of a giant creature that constantly traveled through dangerous regions and changing environments. I managed food production, housing, research, and resource gathering while making sure both the villagers and the massive beast carrying them remained healthy. Expanding the settlement required careful placement of buildings across limited space, with production chains becoming more important as the population grew. Research unlocked better structures and new ways to improve efficiency, helping the village survive tougher conditions. I also had to decide how to interact with the creature itself. choosing between caring for it or using it more aggressively for additional benefits. Different biomes introduced new environmental challenges that affected crops, resources, and long-term planning. The unique setting and satisfying management systems help secure its place in the Great Tier. That's how these city builders rank for me after countless hours of planning, expanding, and solving problems. Let me know which one would take the masterpiece spot on your list. Thanks for watching.